Without further ado, from our lead sponsor, Mr. Ali, welcome to the stage. Give it up for Ali, please.
Okay, so this will be a short 2-hour presentation. So we have two presentations. The presentation today is meant to be a little more high level on the technical detail, giving you more about the vision, what we have done, what is our plan for the future, giving you also a live demo. It's a live demo, so hopefully it works, no glitches, but fingers crossed. And tomorrow we have another more in-depth technical presentation by Pedram, who's here today as well. And there you also get to see some of the more exciting detail on the AI technical stuff if you're interested, and ask questions there as well. We'll try to have some time at the end of this presentation for questions, but we'll see how time goes. So Lavita AI is the platform for medical AI and health data in the next generation of these AI technologies. So I'm sure all of you have heard about Gen AI, and there's no single industry that Gen AI is not touching and making a difference today. And healthcare is one of the biggest sectors of the industry, and it's actually one area because it's so data rich, because there's so many data from the healthcare providers, from obviously all the medical information and everything that happens with different health procedures, that is just lends itself very well with Gen AI applications. Now, of course, always have been the challenge of privacy. Health data is one of the most sensitive data that a person or community has. And with that, how you can tackle these issues, that how you can have your privacy and security and all of that while you want to take advantage of these technologies. So when we set out Lavita AI, which was born out of Theta community, addressing some of these issues. And of course, blockchain particularly lends itself very well. We know that there are protocols and primitives that allow for individual ownership of data privacy, that's very well aligned with blockchain technology. And then on top of that, all these Gen AI applications that we're building in Lavita to bring those new exciting AI for the use of healthcare domain. The problem is today, let's say if you are using MyChart application. Actually, let me do a hand count. How many people have used MyChart in their phone or somewhere? So a few hands, right? So it's very clunky. I don't know if you try to log into that. It's by design, it's meant to be a very clunky application. It's so hard to glean information out of it. Mostly it's used if you want to message your provider, just a simple two-way communication. It's very hard to understand what the information means. So let's say you have some information about some recent tests that you have or some medication. For you to be able to understand and interpret that, either you just have to directly talk with your provider, or you have to give up the privacy. Let's say you want to ask ChatGPT. You have to import all of your medical data and sacrifice your privacy just to get some insight about the medications you're having or some test results that you recently got. So how do we solve for that gap? Lavita, that's the core of what Lavita is doing. So Lavita is creating a loop between AI, data, and individual owners, essentially each of us in this room, right? So you can imagine that you have all sorts of data. This is electronic health records, this is medical images, this is your wearables that you may have. All of this data will be fed into a medical AI engine. So eventually you would be able to have your own personal version of a foundation model. A medical foundation model that is fine-tuned by your medical data for your own use. Essentially the most personalized health companion that you can have. That you can ask all the questions that you want, that knows your medical history, that you can have very reliable answers from, and doing all of that without having to sacrifice the privacy of your data. And then in turn, turns into Lavita, what we call Lavita Health Data Platform, which is okay, so that's fantastic, But what if as a community, I want to do something even beyond that? What if as a community, we want to get together and take advantage of this data and enable the next generation of health and medical research while ensuring the privacy of our data, making sure that data is secure, there's no breaches and all of that. And that kind of brings us to where the community is and closes the loop. And then with all those research applications on this data that's coming from the community, you can have better care and better services and so on. And so this loop continues. And this is very powerful as we release the products, and you see we have some live demo today, and you get to see what exactly this means. Now, all of these, of course, is based on some very key technologies, right? We have talked about this before, but just as a refresher, so we are essentially building Lavita AI on a decentralized infrastructure. We are using secure storage and secure computing, and we are building a medical AI engine on top of that that will be owned by the community, for the community, and fine-tuned for each person for their medical information. This is all based on the secure key management. You'll see that some of that in the live demo that we'll show you today. And of course, this is all based on Lavita subchain, which sits on top of Theta main chain. Privacy preserving applications, AI first, use cases, and secure storage and computing. Those are the key areas that we have developed last year. So that kind of gives you an overview of what we have done. But let's get actually to a little more details of what we have accomplished in the last year. So we have a very active, of course, being part of the Theta community, social channels in Discord and Telegram and Twitter and all those things. And there's actually a lot of excitement and a lot of chats and a lot of good information that comes from those communities. And we heard a lot of good feedback. So one feedback is actually, how are you going to help and enable what is called DeSci, decentralized science, for medical applications using Lavita platform? So we'll show you some exciting updates on that today. Another feedback that we have got is about how actually people get to use Lavita, so kind of that user experience and user interface aspect. We'll show an important update for that today with a product that we're releasing in Q1. And of course, the tokenomics, as Lavita tokens, how are they used to empower this whole ecosystem for improved medical AI applications. So let's start with DeSci first. Tomorrow we'll have a little more, as mentioned, in-depth technical presentation of what we have accomplished, the paper that is coming up. But at a high level, this is what we have done. Oh, it's not going to the next page. So I skipped on that, sorry. So if you're familiar with Lavita, and if you have used Lavita, you know that we have a portal called Lavita Medical AI Assist. Lavita Medical AI Assist is essentially a large language model that's fine-tuned for medical applications that allows you to ask questions, general questions, not personalized questions, general questions about different health and medical applications. So you want to know about a certain condition, you want to know certain about some side effect of certain drug or other things, you can ask the questions. So we use Lavita Medical AI Assist to gather medical questions and health questions from the community. So you can imagine that general Gen AI applications is all about the prompt engineering and using the right questions so you can optimize your applications and the responses that you can get. What we have done as with Lavita, and actually what community of Lavita has accomplished, is providing enormous amount of useful and qualified information as part of these questions that then is used for fine-tuning the models. So we use all of that data, and then we use what is called Lavita Medical Evaluation Sphere to be able to understand how different large language models are performing against those questions. So the questions that come from the community, different language models are running those, providing responses. Then those responses are reviewed by human experts, so these are doctors, through our partnerships, and then providing a benchmark of how these models perform. And then based on that benchmark, then we are able to understand how to actually improve those models. So the next time you come and you ask a question, you get a better response. And this is all allowed by the community involvement. And of course, this is part of Lavita ecosystem, so a lot of these activities, pretty much all of it, is funded by the Lavita tokens and its tokenomics. And the ecosystem and the community around it really is at the core. So the community from even the lame users, right, that providing, without necessarily medical expert knowledge, but asking the right questions, and then the input from partners that we have from medical experts in research institutions and hospitals that are providing review of those questions. So all of this bringing together for us to be a DeSci platform. Why? Because it's all decentralized. All these elements allows us to be a participant in a DeSci ecosystem. So the output of that is actually a publication that Lavita community has enabled. So we announced a few months ago what is on the right-hand side. The Lavita AI has partnered with one of the top research institutions in the country, Dartmouth Medical School. So the Ivy League school, all of that. And one of their centers called Center for Precision Health and AI. And multiple doctors and health practitioners from their institute participated in this study and partnered with Lavita and Lavita community. And Lavita community, the questions they provided, all of that with that partnership allowed us to actually publish a paper that's going to appear in NeurIPS 2024. This is the leading AI conference in the world. It's actually taking place right after ThetaCon, so it's going to be next week. And Lavita, with its community, is going to present that paper, a benchmark for long-form medical question and answering. And we were very proud of this. This is something that was directly enabled by Lavita community. All the information, all the questions, again, from the users and from the partners that we have allows this to happen. And this is just one example of DeSci that we enabled this. And in the future, going to 2025, our goal is to have multiple of these examples, many papers around different topics in medical domain. That's all going to allow to essentially useful research get done without having to have those bottlenecks that exist in academic and traditional research. When you look at the landscape of what is called DeSci, decentralized science, this is from Masari, probably you were very familiar, some of you, from 2023, so it's a while ago, but still very relevant. So what are the different elements of the DeSci ecosystem? And based what I mentioned a few slides ago, you can see that actually Lavita is participating in different aspects of DeSci. So it's participating in data collection. So Medical AI Assist allows for users to submit those questions that then will be part of the large language model evaluation. The review is exactly part of the evaluation sphere that allows for Lavita ecosystem to have those reviewed by multiple partners and reviewers. And of course, the ecosystem and community is a big part of that. This would not be possible. If you look at some of the big companies like Google, Alphabet, that have tried to publish some similar studies, it's amazing. They only have a few participants that are all essentially Google employees that are participating in those studies. There's no such study that we have such a huge number of participants from a community that's then resulting in a very high quality tier 1 publication. And this is really the power of DeSci and what Theta community and through Lavita bring to the ecosystem. And of course, the funding is also a very important aspect of it. That's another bottleneck that you have in academic research. A lot of the research is just set to go through grant processes and all of those. That's usually a very big bottleneck for those researchers. Now, not only that, we're actually going to do something even more exciting. So another show of hands, how many of you may actually have nodes that are running Lavita AI jobs? Wow, I was not expecting. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Please give yourself a round of applause. That's amazing. That's amazing. So Lavita AI jobs, which is essentially the decentralized compute infrastructure for DeSci, is at the cornerstone of what we're doing for the future, for next year, 2025, of this platform. As you can see in the graph, we won't go into the details, but there are multiple elements of this. Of course, the Theta community participates in training and validation of this question and answering benchmark. We'll talk about it a little bit in the next slide. And of course, the Lavita rewards that come through that, that's a big part of it, of course, that allows this for this to happen. And all of this allows for the next generation of decentralized compute infrastructure for DeSci. And we're happy to report that Lavita AI jobs, what you see here, the Lavita medical question answering shared task, is the #4 most downloaded data set of Hugging Face. Just think about it, like Hugging Face, which is the premier AI hub for all the developers all over the world. And actually the #1 and #2 are Hugging Face itself, so it kind of doesn't count. From the external participants, Lavita #2. That's fantastic. That just doesn't exist anywhere else. The power of the community to come together and bring such an impactful result in just merely 1 year, that's unheard of. And we're going to take advantage of that for DeSci and going to have all the rewards of that, of course, coming for people that are with Lavita and doing Lavita AI jobs. So this is just some stats on that. So 7.1 million Lavita AI jobs submitted from when we started just about a year ago. And close to 26,000 unique wallet addresses. So when you think about it, we have a DeSci platform with so many participants that are submitting these questions and doing the decentralized compute infrastructure that allow us to do these amazing things. As mentioned, #4 most downloaded data set in Hugging Face, and just last month, 1 million downloads. So this is fantastic outcome, and we're going to emphasize and take advantage and bring all the benefits to the community more and more in 2025. Again, thank you so much for running those Lavita AI jobs. We're really proud of it. And that's actually, when you look at it from the kind of the ecosystem perspective, that's another angle. So we talked about these few before. Infrastructure and services, that's also what Lavita with Lavita AI jobs is providing. So really all the elements that's related to DeSci, we are working and helping and with the help of community to enable for Lavita DeSci platform. And it's just the beginning. We just started this year, and next year is going to be much, much more excitement coming out of that. So that's one topic. Another topic, and this we're getting closer to the demo, is we have rolled out some products. So this is more related to health data platform that were desktop-based. So today, if you go to platform.lavita.ai, you can actually, well, if you get the invitation code, so we had some participants in the community that got the invitation codes and signed up and all of that. Fantastic. But the one main feedback that we got from the community is that you've got to be mobile-based. So desktop just doesn't work. You want to have this thing on your fingertip. You know, you're outside, maybe you're even at your doctor's, you're just talking with your friends, you're in a community. You want to have all this information at your fingertip. And we'll show you in a demo how that works today. So today we're excited to mention that Lavita AI bringing its platform to a mobile-first application. And of course, it will have all the elements that we had before. So more than 400 health providers through the EHR integration. So we are working with Epic, the largest EHR provider in the US. It's covering more than 100 million people. And there are others as well that we're going to integrate, including Cerner and some others. And this is going to bring all of that to this mobile application. And Cerner. Yeah. But currently we have the integration with Epic, and we're working to onboard Cerner as well. So today, we're announcing this app. Lavita is the first mobile app that we're going to release. And a key component of it, which you'll see soon in the demo, is called Lavita Secure AI Companion. Again, this is marching toward the goal that we have a personalized medical foundation model for each and every community member, that they have the most knowledgeable and the most intimate medical doctor, essentially. Of course, this is, there are all of the regulations and everything when you want to give medical advice. But when it comes from an AI perspective, that you have the most personalized, secure, reliable medical advice in your pocket, in your phone. And that's going to be fantastic. So let's talk about some of the technologies that's actually related to this and how it works. So as you can imagine, secure computing is crucial for medical data analysis, right? This is even before some of the technologies that we have today. There are countless number of news that there has been breaches of personalized data, including health data in the last 10, 15 years particularly, that hacking has become much more common with ransomware and examples of that. So that's, of course, very critical issue. Compliance, that's another important matter, right? So HIPAA compliance in the US, GDPR in Europe, in other jurisdictions, with their regulation, this is going to be very important that you have a secure computing environment and engine that then allows for you to these generate applications for medical information. And then on top of that, I think another important element is what we call this enabling trust in the platform. So when we as a community want to come together and share data in such a way that's privacy preserving and use that data to create other DeSci-based studies and research, secure computing, again, is a big part of that. So what does secure computing mean? At a high level, it means that data, either at rest, in storage, or in transit, let's say from your phone to the server, or in use, which is when it's actually in the GPU and getting processed, is secure. Lavita secure computing architecture. So what you can see on the left-hand side is that the data is in the secure storage and then transferred through a public key management system, the secure key management system, to the what is called trusted execution environment. Lavita coordination services, this is what Lavita is doing, is essentially orchestrating all the computation. So you have data and compute coming in and essentially taking place, the processes and the processing of the data in the trusted execution environment. Lavita itself does not have access to the data. And today we're actually excited to announce that the mobile application that we're releasing is going to use one of the most advanced GPUs out there. So NVIDIA H100 Tensor Core GPU, that's what you get when you use Lavita mobile app. And this is a trusted execution environment, a confidential virtual machine. What does it mean? It means when you run this in the confidential virtual machine, the host OS operating system, the hypervisor, the physical infrastructure that's being run on cannot view or alter the data or the algorithm and the workflows that's being processed on. 100% secure and bringing the most advanced infrastructure to the Lavita users. In another view, kind of a step-by-step what happens. So we'll see this in actually a short while in the demo. So the user logins to the coordinator services, does integration with EHR, so you get the data directly from your EHR. The data is encrypted locally on your phone, so the data never leaves, the unencrypted data never leaves your phone, locally encrypted on the phone. Then it's transferred through secure channel to the confidential VM cloud storage. And there you have the coordination services that Lavita provides, and ultimately the processing that's done at the T-enabled, trusted execution-enabled nodes. We're very excited about this, and I think we've got something that's going to be very useful for our community. So with that, let me switch to the demo. Again, it's a live demo. Hopefully it works, fingers crossed, but please allow for some glitches that may happen. So let me get this started. Oh, okay, great. So we do have, so this is a home screen. I'm just, from my phone, I'm just showing it. So this is a Lavita app. So let's open. So here you can go sign up. Obviously forgot password, all of that. So let's say we have an account already. So demo at lavita.ai. I'm going to type my password, but you can close your eyes. I'm just kidding. You can look at it. It's very sophisticated. I don't think anybody can remember it. Great. So now we're logged in. So there are some maybe familiar components that you already know about. We'll go through all of them. We have the My Data section, which is where you integrate with EHR data. It's very exciting. We have the My Wallet. So right in the app, you can create the wallet to get those rewards. If you have an existing wallet, you can just import it. Staking, of course, that's a big part of it. A lot of you guys already are doing that. Medical AI Assist, which is, again, what you already have used, perhaps, that has been used in our DSI. Secure AI Companion is the new component that we're going to unveil today. And then other things. We'll talk about my research as well. That's kind of our roadmap for next year. So let's see. The first thing we do, maybe we go and create a wallet, right? So here, again, you can import an existing wallet. So you can put in a mnemonic phrase. Or let's say I want to create a new wallet. Okay, so a wallet is created for me. So we have the address. You can copy the private key. You can copy the wallet address. So let me do that. But I should, keep the information, of course, important. And copy the wallet address. Are you closing your eyes? All those Lavita rewards will be soon going to this wallet. So, of course, this is created. Now, if you want to close this, you got to make sure, warning, if you don't close it before you have recorded all those information. So we have. So let's say, okay, now we can close it. Okay, so this wallet is now created, and then we can use it for this app. So now let's go to My Data. Very cool. So here we have a few things. Before coming to the presentation today, I uploaded some data previously for this demo. So we have some genomic data from 23andMe. We have some imaging. Particularly, it's a retinal scan for both the right and left eye that are here. So maybe we can take a look at one of them. So let's say you want to look at the retinal scan. And the way it works, all the data is encrypted on the cloud storage. The only time that the data is decrypted is on the phone. So without this decryption phrase, which you use when you upload your data and you keep it yourself, Lavita never saves it or stores it, nobody can view the data. So it's only the user, and by consent of the user, that the data is viewable. So here in this case, let's say I have an encryption phrase that I remember from before that I should crack off. So I put that here. And on top of that, I should have received a verification code to the email address that was when I signed up for Lavita app. So let me see if I had gotten that code. Okay. So that code is 268573. There you go. That's the retinal scan. So, of course, you can view it. That's great. But then the exciting thing is now what we're going to have on these mobile app is all these Gen AI applications that allow you to interpret the data. So let's say you went and you're optometrist and you got this scan. Of course, you get some interpretation from your doctor. But maybe you're curious. Maybe, what is this, like dark mark here? Should I be worried? Or what does it mean? And there are AI workflows that allow you for different medical images and modalities, from ultrasound, from CT scan, from retinal images, all of that, to be able to run securely and for you to be able to understand that, right? And that's going to be all taking place in the app. So let's close this one for now. We have some genomic data. We can maybe look at it later. But maybe the exciting thing is for EHR data. So currently I don't have any EHR data here, but I can link right here through the app to my provider. So I go here. So let's pick one. Let's say there's one big one in California. It's called Sutter Health. Anybody using Sutter Health? Okay, so you guys probably maybe have this account already. So let's say Sutter Health. Now, if you use Sutter Health or any of these 400 organizations that are here, you may have already, because you were using MyChart or you previously done this, signed up for an account with those organizations. If you haven't, you can just click the sign up, the button down here, and that will take you right away to the sign up page for that particular organization. Of course, there you have to provide some KYC information, name, address, birthday, all of that to create an account. But let's say you created an account before, so we don't have to do that. So right now, I'm just going to give a name to this data import. So I say EHR from Sutter, so I know which one it is. And then the next choice, so you have two options, right? So I'm going to connect to Sutter and download all the EHR data, which will be encrypted on device. Lavita never stores it. But I have two options. I can choose to consider participating in future health studies. So you don't commit now just yet, but in future you get notifications that, hey, we have this research study on our DSI platform that is looking for some individuals with health profiles that are like you. Are you interested to participate and get Lavita rewards? And at that time, then you can consider, okay, I might be able to do that, or decline at that time. But just for now, for considering it and kind of making yourself open to that future decision, you get additional Lavita rewards. But you don't have to do that. You can also say, oh, I'm just going to use Lavita to view the data myself, but I don't necessarily want to participate in any studies later. So that's your decision. So let's say I want to consider participating in future studies. Great. So now connect to your provider. So fingers crossed if the Sutter Health servers are not down. Okay, so this is where we log in there. So let us put some account information there. Sign in. Okay, Sutter Health itself has a 2FA, so I'm going to ask for a code. Let's see if we can get verified. Okay, so now we're at the interface. Now, this is Sutter is asking you, are you sure granting access will give Lavita AI access to the data you authorize? Lavita AI has said that it does not sell your data, will not share your data without your specific permission, does not use your data for marketing or advertising, does not use your data to gain insight about your family, and does let you delete all your health data that it has stored. So it's all, of course, 100% accurate. So let's continue. And you can see there are a bunch of different information and data that you have. So you have like clinical notes, care plans, demographic information, all these things, health goals, observations. So scroll down. So all these things, great. So let's say allow access. So now what's happening is that the data is coming and it's being encrypted on your device without ever leaving your iPhone or Android phone and stored on your device. Now to do that, of course, you need, if you have, remember from your maybe encryption class, you need some encryption phrase, right? So if you're using SSH 256, so let's say we pick an encryption phrase. Lavita never stores your encryption phrase. So this is something essentially like a password that you gotta safe keep. You choose it here. So let's say I have chosen a phrase. We still have the feed, right? Okay. And re-enter it just to make sure that we got the correct spelling. And also another verification code to make sure that this is authenticated, coming to the same email address with which you signed up for Lavita. Great. So now you've earned 1,000 Lavita rewards. How much is that today? $4? Okay. Well, this is for the demo, so those numbers are not may change in the actual. But the point being that we want it to be something substantial. Of course, this is the tokenomics. We'll get to it a little bit later. is a big part of it. So now that data shows up here, right? So now we have this EHR data from Sutter. So two things. First of all, you can view it here, right? So you can say, okay, now I want to view it, kind of the same process as we did with the retinal image. You put your encryption phrase, you put the verification code. If you lose your encryption phrase, essentially what happens is you cannot view the data. Lavita cannot help you to view the data because it's encrypted. So you have to kind of go through the whole process again and download it again from the EHR provider, your provider. So it's maximum security, but sometimes can be a headache if you use your password and encryption phrase, of course, but that's by design. So we can view it here, which is all fine. And by the way, something you can do also in the MyChart app, there, it's a little clunky, but at the end of the day, you can log into your MyChart, see the medications and all those things. So nothing, particularly groundbreaking about it. So let's say we will leave that viewing for later. What we want to do, okay, two things. First, I think actually I forgot to show you the genomic data, so maybe I show you that. That's maybe a little more interesting. So let's say, do you guys follow 23andMe? So it's a company that business-wise is not doing okay. The stock has been down 99%. Their business model doesn't work. They didn't have tokenomics. That's the issue. But from a scientific perspective, their data is useful. So you can get your what is called SMP data, and that data, for example, you can use to again with an AI workflow to analyze. Hey, like I'm 80% Caucasian and 20%. Different, again, from different backgrounds, all that based on the genomic data. So here, similarly, you can kind of view the data and see how it looks. Okay, let's try to view it again. Hopefully, maybe the code we got wasn't accurate. Okay, now we have a glitch. It had to happen. Yeah, looks like it sent another email. So there is a delay from the email codes that I'm getting and when it's showing on the inbox. So let's try another one. Okay, we got it. So this is that SMP data. So you have what is called SMP cluster ID, the chromosome number, the 1 to 23, and then these genotypes, the pairs, the AGCT pairs. And the actual data is thousands and thousands of rows. Here you see a truncated view. But this data, again, directly, this is all encrypted on your phone. You can view it on your phone now with the same exact processes that you saw right now. And then we're going to have all these AI workflows, AI models that allow you to interpret that data. So you can run this data and say, oh, I can, based on this data, understand that this person has, this ancestry profile or other information that you can glean. So that's kind of cool. So we viewed the data, we got the EHR data. Now let's go to something a little more interesting. So we talked about secure AI companion, right? So wouldn't it be cool if you got your EHR data and you can chat with it? Let's say you want to understand, what are the medications in this EHR file? What are the side effects of it? And some other maybe interesting questions that you want to understand. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So we're going to link the EHR data that we just downloaded, encrypted on the phone. So EHR from the Sutter, if you remember, that's the tag name, you got it. Again, because it's encrypted, we have to decrypt it on the phone right now. So you get the same process again. So let's put those codes. Okay, so it says, I'm connecting your EHR data to the secure messaging channel. This may take a couple of minutes. So we'll wait for it. Now, of course, while we're waiting for that, how else you could have done this? Well, you can download your EHR file, and then you can go to like ChatGPT or Perplexity or some of these other apps that are there, and upload your data, completely sacrificing your privacy, whoever that EHR data is from, and upload the EHR data to their server. They will see the whole thing, and of course get some answers. It's still, you have to pay for the premium version, and there's no privacy whatsoever. But now, can you do something a little more interesting here? Okay, I have imported your data. Now you can ask me questions about your data. Okay, so agree to the terms and conditions. So let's ask some questions. Let's start with a simple one. I'm going to use the text to, or voice to text, so it's easier than just typing. What are the medication prescriptions in this file, and what are the inscribed dosage uses? Let's see if you get a good answer. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention. So you see on the top here, so this is running Llama 70 billion model, the 3.1 Nemotron 70 billion, which is one of the top performance AI models out there, open source out there. And this is right now running on the H100 GPU NVIDIA, which is again one of the most powerful infrastructure out there. So okay, so we got some answers. So not bad. So this is, organized rather simply to understand. So there are these medications. There's the type. There's the inscribed use, dosage use. For this one, apply one application to the affected area. Then there's, this emulsion. Then of course, inscribed dosage use for that. Then there's a tablet or a pill, and that also has one, tap by mouth daily. Okay, so we got some good information. So that was easy, right? So what I could have done is to kind of go through my EHR file, either manually or even my chart app, try to glean all the information just one by one from the tables, or I can just ask the question from the EHR as if I have my own medical foundation model that's trained with my data and understand me. So let's ask something a little more even complicated, right? So let's say what we want to say is, what are the annual costs of taking these medications if I don't have insurance and I use generic versions? Let's see if that works. And by the way, this is all live demo, so I have no anticipation or the clue if actually the model is going to work. As you know, large language models, all they do hallucination and everything. So, but of course, Llama is a very good one. So we'll see. And while it's thinking, you guys can think of another question that maybe you want to ask, and we can ask them. Oh yeah, please go ahead. Yes, you're absolutely right. So at the end of the day, by regulation even, technology aside, you're not going to replace a licensed doctor provider, right? So the actual medical advice of what, well, we'll go through the response in a second. Let me finish the answer to your question. So all of that should come from a licensed provider, no question. And Lavita AI has not and will not be a substitute for interacting and getting medical advice from a licensed provider. But that's also the goal. The goal is to bring information and bring the best applications that are there and make it useful and make it accessible to the individuals while ensuring that their data is private. So maximum privacy, 100% secure. That's something that doesn't exist today. Again, you can kind of Google for information, you can use ChatGPT for this and that, but to some level you have to sacrifice the privacy. If you want to get very specific about your condition or your family member condition, you have to provide detailed information to Google, to OpenAI, about those data, right? So then their language models give you a informed answer. And many people don't want to do that. And with Lavita AI, for the very first time, this is possible. So let's get, hopefully that answers, but we can come back to that if there are more questions on that. So let's see what we got from answer here. Okay, so not bad. So then there is approximately the cost of the medication one, then the second one, the generic version for the last one, and so all these costs. So now I have that information, right? So that's exactly tell me some information that was probably very hard to otherwise access, or very, kind of hard with friction to access. So I know, okay, 1,200 for this, 1,100 for this, and then 600 for this. Yesterday, when I was testing it myself, it actually gave me even an aggregate amount. But of course, again, it's a large language model, so you cannot always predict what answers it will give you. But you get the information here. Maybe I can ask actually right now. What is the total aggregate cost of the information you just gave me? Let's see if it understands. You may not, but now, of course, one thing to remember, the trade-off that from a technology perspective of having a fully private, fully secure large language model and data running like this is that you just have to wait more, right? So the computation and the cost has a trade-off with the time that you have to wait, right? So that's why it's taking longer. Let's see if you got a good answer for this one. Yeah, so now I got actually an aggregate amount. So it looks like this is what it calculated. So around $3,000. Okay, so that's actually quite expensive. But it assumes no insurance. So I did assume that in the question. So let's clear this one. Now, of course, this was the EHR data that I incorporated here. I mentioned you can incorporate your imaging data. You can incorporate your genomic data, all sort of data. And then ask the questions like, what is that dark circle in the retinal? Does it mean anything? Is it normal? Is it abnormal? And I mentioned the model and the cost and how it takes to run. You also give an option to run a little bit faster model that because it's a smaller model. So the other model that I have integrated here is a 27 billion gamma. So Llama is an open source model by Meta, Facebook, that's pretty much a gold standard in the industry. Gamma is published open source by Google, so that's a smaller model. Gamma 2, 27 billion, that's going to be a little bit faster, but maybe not as powerful with regard to some answers. And of course, as we get this application out and we release the updates and everything, we're going to have more and more models, and we're going to have the ability to upload more and more kind of data. So, and of course, all of it with the secure and privacy preserving primitives that we have. So that's that part. There's a section on my research that's grayed out here. This is kind of what is going to be in the roadmap for 2025. This is all so far the demo that I showed is about my information, as a user and getting the information about myself. But as you remember, I chose, there was an option to choose, I want to participate in future studies, that kind of thing. So that's where it's going to take place. So my research will be a section where you see, oh, these are the studies that I'm going to participate, and I get Lavita rewards for that. Of course, case by case, I decide whether to participate or not to participate, and all of that information that you can see there, and accumulate Lavita rewards for that. So yeah, so that's the demo. Of course, there are settings and things like that that will be part of the application. And so I think we can switch back to the actual slides. And we're excited to announce that we're releasing it in Q1 2025. So in less than 100 days, we'll be able to access and use this. And we're very excited for this. Obviously, from what we mentioned, that the community wanted the mobile experience, but of course, from all this technology that we're bringing, really the latest infrastructure, the best language models, while ensuring that the users get the maximum privacy, 100% secure with all those graphs that we show in the secure architecture that we have for Lavita. So very exciting for us, and hopefully something that the community gets to use and enjoy. And the last point, maybe go back about tokenomics. So this is something that also, again, we hear about a lot from community. So of course, people earning Lavita rewards for doing AI jobs, or you may get Lavita rewards by connecting your EHR data, or you get Lavita rewards by participating in research studies. And of course, people are interested for good reason to know about the tokenomics. So our promise to you is that if you continue what you have done, if you continue to use Lavita AI jobs, if you get to use and like, hopefully, these applications and essentially increase the data velocity that we have and increase it more and more in Lavita, with all the momentum that we have got, we showed you like Hugging Face for number 4, we're going to list on a tier 1 exchange. So that's our promise to you. But of course, it all depends on the community. So we're going to, hopefully get that support as we have more and more in the future from you. And, that brings essentially more closed loop action to the tokenomics that we have. Actually, we have a couple of, if you see, you have a couple of Lavita signs up here. So the idea we had, we're not completely settled on this, but the idea we had was to actually to use this mobile app, what we can do to kind of increase and improve the tokenomics, to have a staking mechanism. So then by staking Lavita tokens, instead of paying, so that the stake tokens are still yours and you're accumulating the Lavita rewards, all of that, but by staking those tokens, then you'd be able to use these features, let's say, for example, more advanced models or better infrastructure for faster response, all of that. So then that increases the demands for Lavita tokens as we're going to the next level and next iteration of the tokenomics that we have. So that's kind of the presentation. Yeah, so hopefully you got some good insight as what we have done, what the future will look like, and happy to, I don't know how we're doing on time, Brian, but if there's time, we can do a few questions.
And question number 1.
Hi, is there any intention to add analytical capability for practitioners so that not only the medical community can join in an interface with you privately?
Very good question. Not the immediate plan. So we are in a situation, as there are a lot of projects, that you have a kind of a multi-sided network effect. So we believe that our unique advantage and benefit that we have compared to other, startups, not even crypto or blockchain related, there are some other digital health startup that are, working in this space, is that we have that community first approach. And I think that's really a differentiator for us. So there are some, from a technology perspective, competitors that are targeting providers, and they're just going to talk with providers, actually to the questions I brought up earlier. They don't intentionally interact with individuals because they find it maybe harder or subject to regulation, all of that, and they just work with providers themselves.
Could I ask a corollary?
Sure.
The high-tech law that was created to create a national data repositories and privacy, which failed, but nonetheless has a legal structure to it, has a very interesting idea for the marketing of personal data. So instead of people having their data confiscated and used for research, that you could participate voluntarily in selling your data to studies, and the result of that creating a monetization in accordance with your own intent. Is that something that you're looking toward as a monetization structure for Lavita?
Yeah, I think actually that's exactly, you said it right. That's exactly our intention, to have that framework that allows for individuals to participate, monetize, get rewarded with informed consent. And I think that's a key part of it, that exactly case by case, study by study, based on some people may also, depending on the reward level, decide whether to participate or not. With all that information, have an informed consent, decide to participate, and be part of that kind of next version.
So are you going to then, for example, the pharmaceutical companies pay a huge price for identifying subjects for studies? Would that be something that then monetizes the community? Very good question.
So there are opportunities like that that will bring definitely, I would say, strength to the tokenomics of Lavita ecosystem. If you're able to absorb that type of revenue from big pharma or research institutions that want to use Lavita platform to identify and work with individual participants, that's exactly something that we can utilize. But of course, all of that, it would be subject to that they have to agree with our privacy policies and using the data and using the platform, especially the secure computing as we have set it up.
Got it. By the way, HHS estimates that that amount is $60 billion.
Huge market indeed.
Question number 2. Thank you. Yeah, I assume that the current data partners that are providing the medical data, they are pretty much only US based, I assume. So do you have any estimated timeline, or can you say something about when you're going to look into expanding that to other regions of the world, say
Very good question.
Europe or wherever?
Yes, for sure. So US is number 1, North America. Europe probably going to be the last one because of the regulation and all the frictions that exist there. Interestingly enough, companies like Epic, they're actually global. If you look at Asia, Epic is a top 3 EHR provider also in Asia. So Southeast Asia and like South Korea and that kind of region. So definitely we have into other region, particularly as a next step into Southeast Asia. And then Europe is probably going to be a one after that.
Thank you.
We'll get around. All right.
Hey, good presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was really kind of just wrapping my head around this whole thing. I had like 2 questions. One was just to kind of get it out of the way. The roadmap on the website's updated through the second half of this year. Are you planning on releasing another one soon?
Oh, yes. We wanted to actually update for the event, for the ThetaCon. We haven't yet. But some of the stuff we mentioned today, particularly the focus on DeSci, what we have talked about using Lavita AI nodes, jobs for DeSci compute infrastructure, as well as what we have with the mobile application and also the My Research section, all of that. So we will update the roadmap and you will see it on the website.
Okay, and then just for clarification, when it comes to who's you're getting the information from, those are insurance companies, basically? Or are they, you said HR?
That electronic health record, for example, or?
Yeah, where the medical information is coming from. That kind of went over my head.
So those are, could be insurance companies, but what we have right now are actually the providers. So let's say, which city are you from, let's say, for example?
Ohio, Amherst.
Okay, so I can guarantee you that on the list of 400 plus, actually maybe we look at it right now together, why not, right? So
Sure.
let's go here. And
Yeah, because you said something like HR, and I was like, huh?
well, if you know doesn't necessarily need to be your provider, but if you know a provider from the region, Ohio region, let's see if they're on the list.
Okay. All right, yeah, I'll take a look. It's
Okay, so I can glean, obviously actually some of them have state names, so let's scroll down. But all of these are providers themselves. So you can, for example, you see Kaiser here. So, and of course those companies work with insurance companies, etc. But these are the providers themselves. Essentially, when you go to doctor, go to hospital, this is who you interact with.
And if you don't currently have coverage, that data is still going to be kind of stored with them that you can pull that?
Oh, yes. Oh, Ohio
Okay.
Health. There we go. Maybe that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
So if that's where you go, and so let's say you're Ohio Health, let's say you didn't have an account, actually you go sign up here, that will take you to Ohio Health portal for signing up. By regulation, they should have, so this, as you can see in the URL probably up here. Oh, you guys can't see the screen anymore. Oh, I didn't realize. Can we switch to the screen 1 second? To the mobile screen?
Yeah, because that was the one piece that didn't tie together for me mentally. The data port.
Okay, great. So I went to this My Data section and select your provider. I just kind of scroll down all the way to Ohio Health, right?
Mm.
So if that's the one that providing, and then if you don't have an account with them, by regulation, they need to have an account for you. But it could be that you never logged into that account. So here, there's a sign up here button at the bottom that you can go and click. And as you can see, that takes you to the URL of Ohio Health.
Oh,
So-
okay. Yeah, I'm familiar.
So
with
this
that.
is actually Ohio Health interface. So you can, obviously it requires, some, critical personal information, but then you sign up an account, and after you do that, then you can access your EHR data from there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Lee. Probably have two more, maybe. Yep.
Make it quick.
Hi, Ollie. Thank you very much. For the AI model, so I have two questions. For the AI model, does it take into account holistic approaches to medicine, or is it just pharmaceuticals?
Very good question. I don't think, as you follow the kind of the Gen AI and the large language models, it turns out that the large language models that are general, overall speaking, outperform large language models that are trained only on a subset of data. So that's why that, GPT-4o, even though it's very general, I was trained on everything on Earth, probably going to outperform, and similar with Llama that we have here, outperform a particular model that was just trained on some specific information, medical information. That being said, what you can do, of course, is with fine-tuning and using data sets that are specific for some use case. Like you said, okay, if there's holistic, therapeutics that are more of interest, then what we can do is actually we can allow you in the My Data section to say, oh, this is a list of holistic therapeutics or approaches or interventions that exist. Maybe I got it from some website or some data sets, and I'm uploading it to the My Data section. And then from the large language model, your question would be, looking at these data set and the information is there, give me the answer that's relevant to me because of my health information, but also complies with the fact that I want to get holistic information, like information about holistic intervention. And that's exactly what it does. So you kind of, in the kind of a little more technical, again, we have a great technical presentation tomorrow, what is called the RAG pipeline, which is called retrieval augmented generation. So you want to get answers that are specific to a domain or a data set, and you want to do that with these large language models that are otherwise just general. And that's also an option that we're going to have.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question, because most of us are looking for information online. I think the AI models are going to be very important. And so just as an example, which is the COVID pandemic that we had, everybody was recommended to get vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated just because there wasn't enough data. Now there's more data coming out showing that the vaccine wasn't safe. But I want to see if your language model is taking that into effect. For example, like using ivermectin, which worked very well. So is that going to be taken into effect? Because your question was really good. Is it controlled by the pharmaceutical companies?
Very good question. Yeah. It is an open question to some extent. These language models continue to evolve, and there are many people that are developing. Obviously, one reason that large language models are still dominated by big tech and certain big companies is that it's just so expensive to build these models, right? It takes, in the order of billions. So that's why it's hard for any small institutions to just have a completely separate foundation model or language model. But what we can do is to augment with those, as mentioned, RAG databases that allows you to get the information in the context that you want. And of course, big part of this is also that, as we have shown in the DeCi platform, how to improve this. So as we gather information, as we have in the medical evaluation sphere, you can actually rank these models, which one is performing better. And that ranking is done both by the regular users and expert users like doctors and so on. And that allows allows Lavita to improve the models, pick the ones that are performing better, and just continually have a improvement flywheel as part of Lavita platform.
Thank you, Ali. I think that's going to close us
Perfect.
for the moment. But keep in mind, Ali is here for the next day and a half. So you have a great opportunity to corner him and ask away. Thank you, Ali. Yep. Really appreciate it. Thank you.